Orlando, June 2022, and this has been a great full day with Republican Assembly chapters.
Sure.
And it's Sheriff's Training, Constitutional Sheriff's Training Day.
Yes,
and we ran into an incredible person, Christina,
Yes.
who is running for Orange County School Board right here in Orlando, Demensio Barton. And welcome to the City Commander Radio Show, AUN Television.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'm glad you had invited me over, and
Sure.
I really appreciate this. This is very nice.
Yeah. You're a brave soul. Dealing with anything in the school board education today.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, I was born here in Florida.
Okay.
I really have had a heart for the families and for the kids since I was a
That's what I'm
kid.
talking about.
Literally,
Yeah.
my family, I was born in Polk County. I made it all the way to Tampa Bay.
Oh, wow. Wow.
That's where I met my beautiful wife.
Okay.
We have
Yes.
4 kids.
Yes.
All of them have graduated and all of that wonderful stuff from college, not to mention high school, but it's funny. We went through the whole process of going from public school through private school and then went to homeschool.
Oh,
Been
yes.
every aspect, you've experienced all of
Every
it.
aspect.
Yes, we have.
Right.
But the thing about it was, the big deal for me and my wife was that we noticed while we had our kids going through that process and we were starting to learn, we didn't even know that there were woke agendas or indoctrinations or things that were put in place. But what really lit my wife off and then lit me up, because we were just doing the American dream, working and working and working,
Yeah.
was when they tried to put our 2 boys on Ritalin.
There you go.
Oh my. ADHD and all that.
Yeah, I mean, they're boys, they're hyper, young guys, that's what they do.
That's what they do.
When we realized that this was going on, we realized our children weren't looking like us, they weren't acting like us.
Sure.
That's when we started digging into the system.
It's good.
That's when we also found out that we had some horrendous numbers. The young Black and Hispanic kids were having only about 30, the low to mid 30% retention rate of what they were being educated
Oh
in.
my.
Wow.
Our young Caucasian kids
Goodness.
were pretty much in the high 40s to just breaking 50% on the retention rate of their information that they were being taught.
See? Right.
And now watch this. And our children were starting to act like the people they were around most during the day and not like their parents. So you had the whole belief system of our kids had started to turn.
Yeah.
A lot of parents didn't notice this because we stay so busy.
Yeah.
You don't even notice the changes happening.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you think you're taking your child and getting him on the yellow bus to learn the 3 R's.
Yeah.
And that's not what's going on today.
No, sir. It's not what's going on today. Right now, our children were being stolen from us right from underneath our noses.
Yes, they are.
And we were paying for the theft.
That's right.
Yes,
That's
with our
right.
tax dollars.
Absolutely.
Right now, when we looked at it for ourselves, we've successfully raised our kids. We started looking back, and now we have God kids. Our kids are not married, so they don't have any kids. They're all single right now. But we have our God kids, and we were looking and we were seeing these babies, and they were in public school. And we were like, it's worse now than it was then.
Yeah, that's true. Right.
And so what we decided, we was like, we have to make a difference. It's good what happened for our family,
Sure.
but this nation is made up of more than just a family here and a family there. How about the rest of the families? And everybody couldn't do what my wife and I did, where she actually stopped her career.
Yeah.
I just worked and then she stayed home. Most people have to have those 2 incomes. If we do not change around the school system so that it becomes a safe environment for those who must have their kids in it,
Sure.
America's through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lincoln said this generation ends up being the leadership of the next generation, and if you corrupt this generation, you go under.
That's right.
That's
right.
it. What?
And the picture of schools now is even more frightening in the natural than even in the last 5 years. Even these last 2 years, we've seen such a decrease of that. And now you are stepping forward and saying, not only is there a voice that has to be determined here, there has to be action with that voice.
It must be. See, last year when I was looking and I was seeing what was going on, here in Orange County,
Yeah.
our school board was literally suing our state
Wow.
for the right to mask and to keep these kids out of school.
So
It made no sense.
yeah.
But the thing about it also is they were not against CRT, critical race theory, and they actually, even as recently as this year, have been positive on SEL, which is social emotional learning. And this is one of those things that a lot of times when I look at this, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Social emotional learning is the Trojan horse of all of these woke ideologies.
Sure. Yeah.
If you look and you see on the government, on the website for CASEL, CASEL.
Okay.
This is a website that tracks by the government their use of government funding and their purpose for social emotional learning.
Wow.
Social emotional learning, there was $123 billion that was put aside during COVID supposed to be for helping our kids to get their education, helping, during the whole
That's
time.
a lot of scholarships to college if you would do it that way.
That's a lot of money. And what they ended up though saying on the CASEL website that money is actually now for instilling SEL or social emotional learning in every K through 12 in the United States of America.
That's amazing.
And see, here we are.
Here you are, right?
Our schools, they are getting this government crack, this government money.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I've been going everywhere telling everybody,
a
we
drug.
must stop the sale of our kids. SEL. And if you look at that definition, not the one that they show the parents, the four C's.
No.
Oh no, don't go by the 4 C's. If you go by what they have that goes to the districts, the school districts,
Yes.
they have the 4 C's must be they must be using they must be evaluated using the lenses of SEL. This is where you have unconscious bias.
Real bad filter.
You have equity. You have the very things that make up CRT, that make up these agendas that make our kids hate their own skin color, turn on their parents.
Right.
In those docs, it lets you know the whole purpose of this is to have those kids learn to question their belief system.
Goodness
And
gracious.
I'm sure they're introducing gender fluidity.
Gender fluidity is a
big.
part of it.
Right, yeah.
And also reassessing who you allow to speak in your life.
Right.
So for you or me, we
Right.
will learn.
Sure.
You wanted somebody who at least looked like they might be somebody you listen to.
Sure,
You understand
right.
me?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's also a part of this concept of we have some very perverted, twisted
Very
ideas of who
twisted.
should come in and teach our kids
I
that.
agree.
Yeah.
Yes. It's been a
You
lot.
have drag queens.
Right.
You
Yes,
have
the library.
I mean, come on. They have these things where they say, yes, you're right, the library system, and that isn't even funny.
That's not even.
What does that have to do with educating a kid?
That's right. It doesn't.
No.
It has nothing.
Right.
But as a whole, you look and you see parents are saying, and these are both liberal, these are
Right.
Republican, these are Democrat.
Right.
They want to be the ones to instill their values in their kids. They want you to educate in the R's. Arithmetic, reading, and writing.
Right.
They want you to teach what you're supposed to teach, but leave that to us.
Yes.
Yes.
And that, for me, is what we're here to do now. We must flip the script. We have to change this.
Sure.
I signed on with Governor DeSantis's 10 points for school boards.
Yes.
It is right. It is just. It even handles the school. It even handles protection. Protection of our kids. We cannot act like crime doesn't happen. We cannot act like in the here and now, the dirty here and now, that we don't have things that we must protect ourselves against.
Sure.
We must have things instilled. So things like the gardening program, which like Sheriff Grady, he had Grady Judd. He actually was one of the promoters of that concept back when it was, I think, the Sentinel program.
Wow.
When we have concepts that make sense, I didn't know this till I was listening to him. He actually said that, listen, most of those attacks, and they had this a grouping of about 42 or 43 different on the surveys.
Yeah.
Most of them, when you look at the time when an attacker attacked the school,
Yeah.
it all was completed in 5 minutes.
Wow.
0 to 5 minutes. If you looked
Yeah.
at the response time for officers, by the time they got there and were able to actually engage, 5 minutes plus.
Wow.
If you do not have something in place on campus to protect these
Absolutely.
kids, you will lose life and people will get injured.
Yep.
Absolutely. What do you think? My wife and I go to Walmart, and
Yes.
every post on every light in the
You've
parking
seen
lot
it.
says
It's
camera.
security.
Camera. Secure.
Wouldn't that help the kids in the schools be safer?
I believe that we must have that, but the whole thing for cameras is identification and deterrent of those who do not want to be identified.
That's true.
But if you have someone who's already decided, I'm going to go in and say it's a suicide, personal suicide, I'm going to kill them, I'm going to commit suicide.
Right.
Well, if you have someone who doesn't care about their life,
That's right.
that deterrent loses its effect.
That's true.
We have to have people who are trained, people who are people of good rapport, that actually we can trust to go in, and whether it be teachers or it be someone from the police force that's hired, and then they go in, but they become a part of the on-campus community.
Right.
Then we have a solution. But we have a solution for the dirty here and now.
Right.
Now, from there, once we have a base whereby we can mitigate any problems, but we also have a position where we could, quick response, mitigation, we have deterrent. When we have those, and we have those laid out, we must also now have, how do we transition to a safe environment a safer environment going into the future? Well, most of the people who create these acts, based off of that research on those 42 to 43 occurrences, are known to that campus environment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when we look and we see what's going on, the community already had picked up on, like in Uvalde, they had already picked up on the fact that this kid had problems.
Yes.
We're not going to get into how a kid got a hold of a very, very, very expensive rifle. We're not.
Training. That's very rare.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that part right now.
Right.
But just the concept of having community involvement. See, when I was a kid, I grew up with this.
Sure.
Before first grade, and I'll just say this one, I grew up kind of little house on the prairie style. We had this lady who had created this school that became the #1 school for teaching people of color during that time in Central and Northern Florida.
Sure.
Her name was Miss Roby, and it was called Miss Roby's Elementary.
Wow.
And now listen, Black people brought their kids from all over Central and Northern Florida to be taught by her and her husband.
Wow.
It looked just like Little House on the Prairie. You'll go, it's a house on the blocks, and it was just like shotgun house, you know the whole thing. You got the whole place where you can buy something from.
Right.
Now, when we went into this, when we go into there, Miss Roby only had one arm. She was a one arm, on fire, sister, godly woman of God, and sister. She would make sure that you learned. We had this big chalkboard that went all the way around all the walls.
Wow.
But she cared about us. They instilled a respect and an honor. They told us, you will not shame your parents, you're not going to shame our God, and you're not going to shame me.
There you go.
Yes.
But these values must be brought with the education.
Right.
We must bring back the things that make us great.
That's it. Which is part of what you are doing.
Thank you.
And that's what we applaud in this hour. And we all know God is looking down, smiling over you.
Thank you, thank you. I really believe that he kind of put me together
He did.
for such a time as this.
Yeah.
We agree.
And
Absolutely.
hey, all of my strength and hope comes from him.
Yes,
There
from
you
one
go.
pastor to another. We want to thank you,
Yes.
Demensio Barton, running for Orange County School Board right here in Orlando.
Yes.
What a privilege to interview him and share the good news.
Yeah.
There's a brighter hope and future
Yeah.
here in Orlando. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. God bless you.
Yeah.
No, but thank
Thank
you.
you.